What's up guys, it's me Jeremy. One of the things that I've always loved doing here at this channel is showcasing some of the awesome concepts that the community designs for themselves. And I wanted to do my part to maybe help give some attention to our favorite community creations, and maybe one day we'll get to play something that was inspired by them on Summoner's Rift. And just before we start real quick, this video is going to be sponsored by LOL Sumo. It's a free app which helps you analyze your games live to make real-time improvements with custom item builds and all sorts of stats. And they recently released a new feature that helps you out with runes and masteries now as well, so it's really convenient and super easy to use too. Myself and my friends have been using the app for over about 6 months now I think, and it's always fun to compare stats with each other, and it's free on Android and iOS, so check it out at the link in the description below. Without further ado, let's jump right into the video. Now the first champion we wanted to show off for you guys today goes by the name of Electra, the Lost Chapter. She was designed by SlayInc, and he fleshed out pretty much every aspect of the character, including the concept art and gameplay. As her title suggests, she's actually based on the Lost Chapter item, with the idea that it's one of the artifacts that she carries around. Electra is a human with the appearance of a scholar or librarian, but she draws her power from special items that she carries to allow her to wield the power of 3 giants: Curios the Windrunner, Stegus the Purifier, and Gracchos the Adamant. Her gameplay is similar to that of an offensive caster support, or perhaps a potential mid laner, with a few similarities to Karma in particular. Her passive is called Lost Chapter, which will stun up an enemy that is hit with an ability 3 times. That ties in really nicely to her Q, Curios' Blades, which fires 3 energy bolts that pass through enemies outward in a cone. Electra can then reactivate her Q to merge the bolts into the center of the cone, where they will detonate and instantly trigger her passive stun. Her W, called Gracchos' Skin, adds some defensive capabilities in the form of a barrier, which can be applied to an allied champion or to herself. And as a nice little upside, it also deals damage and knocks back enemies that were near the shielded target, giving it a little more value as a peeling tool, while also giving it a potential offensive use, say on maybe a diving jungler or something like that. Electra's E is Curios' Velocity, which functions in a similar way to perhaps LeBlanc's Distortion. It allows her to dash to a targeted location and deal magic damage, only she can't return back like LeBlanc, so it's a one-way trip. Her ultimate is Stegus' Blessing, which allows her to use one of her abilities 3 times without any cooldown, although she can't use other abilities once she has chosen which ability she's going to spam with the ultimate. Overall, her art is just fantastic, comes with the ability icons as well, which is actually quite surprising to see with a champion concept. So great job to SlayInc for this design. It's really fleshed out and would have been really cool to see come to life in the game. Next up, we've got Whaleon the Dream Seer by Dubucc. It turns out that there is just no stopping this artist from churning out some insanely cool concepts, and Whaleon the Dream Seer is no exception, so Riot, please, can you give this guy a job for once? Anyway, as with Simon's other concepts that we've taken a look at in previous videos, the gameplay is a little bit left to your imagination, as he is a concept artist. He's not a gameplay developer, so he doesn't want to worry too much about the gameplay, but just by looking at the concepts, you can get such an awesome idea of what the character would look like in the actual game itself. While designing Whaleon, Simon wanted to create a Freljordian mage with a twist, that he wasn't actually going to use ice. He definitely has a sage-like appearance, and you can easily picture him as being from the Freljordian region, because of all that fur going on and all that stuff, but it seems like his gameplay would instead be focused on the mystical eye above him rather than casting ice spells. His powers are focused on dreams, so it's likely as a mage he'd pack some cool crowd control in the form of a sleep ability along with some bonus effects that he could trigger against sleeping targets. Interestingly, his magical eye seems to have kind of like an on or off setting, which could maybe have something to do with his powers, or perhaps it's something that allows him to see or predict incoming attacks to block them from happening. Obviously, I'm totally speculating here, but this is just such an awesome concept, and the design is just amazing. There's nothing like it in the game right now, and it could definitely fit in extremely well. Now the third champion concept we wanted to take a look at today is another creation by my personal favorite Dubucc, and this time it's headed in quite a different direction actually. The champion goes by the name of Zod the Void Parasite, and thanks to the purple in the design you can immediately recognize him as being a creature from the Void. Simon describes Jarzod as the Void Parasite, and we can see very clearly where that inspiration is coming from, as Jarzod is latched onto the head of some other frog-like creature. We don't know exactly what abilities this character would have or how Jarzod might be amplifying his power or something, but from a first glance it actually looks a little bit like a frog shaman, thanks to his wooden tool and little hovering voidlings. Now Riot has actually been trying to come up with a shaman champion that uses totems for quite some time now, and I can't help but feel like Jarzod is a really creative way to bring that concept to life. Maybe the frog was originally just a normal frog and Jarzod imbued it with his intelligence or some kind of power, or maybe the frog was already pretty advanced and Jarzod just took over the power for himself. We don't exactly have any example abilities with this, so again, it's hard to imagine the exact way that Simon intended for this champion to function, but the Parasite concept is one that is just so badass, and doing it through a Voidborn is a really awesome way to bring that into the League of Legends universe. Simon also included some other concepts which changed the appearance and colors of both Jarzod and his host creature, and although it's really awesome to see the ideation and the creative process laid out like that, it doesn't exactly help us figure out how the champion would behave in game, but nonetheless, this is just so awesome. If Riot's taken note of this, I'd definitely be trying to use this as an idea, as an inspiration to get that totem shaman archetype in the game. It just fits so well. Now our next champion concept goes from someone by the name of Thomas Randby, otherwise known as Hyliart, which is a name you might recognize from some of our other concepts we've taken a look at. The champion goes by the name of Nasira, Viper of the Sands, and she's of course meant to be Hyliart's own take on a new Shuriman champion. Her weapon is a whip that she holds in her right hand, which would probably make a ton of the player base happy, as there's been a desire for a champion that uses a whip properly for a really long time. A whip user would probably be classed as a ranged sort of melee, I guess, kind of like Thresh, who maybe uses melee attacks from a distance rather than projectiles. Her kit could perhaps involve things like a root in the form of binding someone with her whip, maybe a kind of whiplash attack, maybe some kind of even a poison-based ability, since she is meant to be a Viper after all. Appearance-wise, she looks a lot like other champions from Shurima. There's a lot of gold and jewels, and most notably her chest piece and head adornment look a lot like the sun disk of Shurima. Nasira's background describes her as being intrigued by the Shuriman Empire, so it would be pretty cool if she was a potential candidate for future ascension. So awesome job to Thomas Hyliart, my boy, on this concept. Definitely looking forward to what he can also produce in the future too. Now our next community champion concept for today goes by the name of Aliz'Za, the Runic Guardian. I hope I'm pronouncing that correctly. She was designed for the top lane by Angel Huerta, although unfortunately we don't know anything about the ideas for Aliz'Za's abilities. What we do know is that her biggest features all revolve around runes. She's equipped with a runic axe and a rune forearm, and even some runic tattoos that glow in a manner almost similar to Aang from Avatar: The Last Airbender. As a top laner with a pretty sturdy looking arm, it gives the impression that she would be very durable, potentially similar to Vi in terms of her bruiser nature, but thanks to that big ass axe, she's probably a little bit less mobile, but quite a bit more damaging. The glowing tattoos are denoted in the concept as being somewhat of a power up, so it's quite likely that this was Angel's idea for Aliz'Za's ultimate. Maybe she activates her own avatar state type of thing, giving herself big buffs to her offensive as well as defensive capabilities. As the design stands right now, she looks a little bit like a mix between Ryze and Vi, which might not necessarily fly so well with Riot because they really like to stick to unique stuff, but having a rune mage with a focus on melee combat is such an interesting concept for a character, and is one that I personally would absolutely love to play with in the game. Either way though, that's just about going to wrap up our list for our champion concepts that we wanted to show off today. As always, definitely make sure to check out the original artists. Gonna have the link in the descriptions. Show them some love, give them some follows on their respective platforms and stuff. I hope you guys enjoyed the video. Hope you guys enjoyed the concepts for sure. If you guys enjoyed, please leave a like. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you guys next time.